listening to The Announcer's Table with Daryl and Ian. This podcast is presented by RingIcon.com, the social networking site for wrestlers, fans, promoters, and everything indie wrestling. Log on today and create your profile, and as always, enjoy the show.
Hey guys, this is Ian.
I'm Abdullah the Butcher. Come to my barbecue restaurant.
Oh goodness. Well, that's Darrell. Not Abdullah the Butcher, even though they might have a resemblance. Sort of.
We're both black.
Are you?
Yeah.
From the waist down. Well, today is Tuesday, so we yesterday was Promotion Builder. Today is Gimmick Builder, and so carrying on the theme, we talked about wrestling rings.
Wedding rings. Wrestling rings.
Wrestling rings.
Wrestling rings.
So, today we're talking about wrestlers and wrestling rings. Yesterday we talked about, if you didn't see yesterday's show, it was all about promotions and how you can...
Well, don't give them any spoilers if they haven't seen it yet. They might want to watch it.
Well, it's yesterday. I know that you should have watched it, and what I'm saying is I'm going to give you a little bit. Just
Spoiler
so
alert.
Just go back and watch yesterday's about wrestling rings, about promotions, because we just talked about different things that you can do to improve your ring and improve the quality and just
the
things,
visual aspect.
Right, just to remember that the ring is one of the main focuses.
Focuses? Is that a word?
I don't think so, but
it is now.
It's one of the main focus. I don't think that's a word, but it is the main focus of the show, and so you need to keep it maintained. So today we're actually talking about Gimmick Builder and how, as a wrestler or a referee or valet or whatever you are in the back, things that you could do to help out with the wrestling ring. I know it doesn't quite build your gimmick, but it builds you as a professional in the wrestling business.
And it could hurt your gimmick.
Yeah, and it could hurt your gimmick. So
it may not help build it, but it could hurt it.
Right.
So I'll start it off. One thing as a wrestler, valet manager, whomever you are, as a worker, when you come into an establishment, especially if this is your home show and you're working there a lot, all right, so you have that rapport with whomever's running the show.
Right.
Okay, check the ring. All right, do a walkthrough. Look at it. If there's stuff, dangling off the ropes or, whatever. Just check it out. Make sure the canvas is clean. Make sure the aprons are tight. The ropes are tight enough.
Right. I mean, you don't want to go in there and act like you own the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously have respect for whoever does own it and the promoter and the booker and things like that. But at the same time, you want to. If you do have that connection with the booker or the promoter, you need to be able to say things, like the ropes are kind of loose, or
they could use some more tape.
They could use some tape, right? I mean, just things like that you can help the show out. Because obviously, when you bring it up to them, you want to say, I just want to mention this to you just because I want to help improve the show. You know what I mean? I'm here to help you out. To help build this brand. So anything you say from that point on, they should know that you're doing this with the best intentions. So other than the ropes, things that you can do. One of my main reasons for doing this for Gimmick Builder is that you should know the tool that you're working in.
Absolutely.
Your wrestling moves are, your go-to thing. That's the main reason you're in the ring in the first place. But you need to know how that ring is operated, whether it's a spring ring, which means that the middle of the ring has an actual spring in the middle, or if it's flex steel, which means that it's just steel bars that go across. You need to kind of know that because, one, you're going to find out how stiff the ring is real quick, because most of the time, from what I've noticed, is that the ones with the springs in the middle, they're a lot stiffer that's all going to be ring by ring basis. What I mean? You're going to work in a stiff ring one day and a loose ring the next, but you always want to know what you're working with, So that's one of the reasons we wanted to bring this up today. Can you think of other things?
And well, yeah, I mean, not just knowing what kind of ring it is, get to the show early, and especially if you're a new guy, you're still new to the business, learn how to put the ring together.
Oh yeah.
So you can learn what it takes. All right, so you can get the feel of the ring that's going together, and don't be afraid to help break it down at the end of the night. I know a lot of promotions. As I grew up in the business, all the wrestlers had to get there early. All the wrestlers had to take it down, put it back, or put it up and take it down. That was just part of being in that show. But I mean, that was back in the '80s. So, wow. Right. But so I mean, that's one thing, especially for the new guys that are more green. Learn the craft of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and that way you can learn the sweet spots of the ring and where if this board over here is a little loose. Well, you know what? Tonight you're not going to work that side. You'll say something to whomever, but maybe kind of not do the 450 splash on that side over there.
Right, and that goes along with check the ropes, get on top of them, feel how the turnbuckle feels. If it's a large pad or a small pad, you know what I mean. You can feel how you're gonna. I mean, obviously most of the guys are gonna be like, I could do it off of anything, but
yeah, well, you'll find out the hard way if you hop up there and they're too loose and
yeah, exactly.
You don't catch your balance.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people do springboards. A lot of people try and attempt 450 splashes, and it just hasn't worked out because they didn't test out the ropes before they did it. Especially springboards. Some people can jump up and springboard off of anything, but then there's some guys that you have to have the ropes the right way to do it. I
remember when I was on the top rope and I went for my 1080 rocket splash. The ropes were real loose, and so it bounced me, and I didn't quite get the 1080. I got like 999.
Yeah.
So it was pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, it was quite impressive.
On my nose.
And I think that was the time you blew your knee out. So.
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest anyone getting on the top rope if you're
I'm not
Daryl's.
Getting off the.
Bam Bam Bigelow did a moonsault off the top rope, so I guess anybody can.
Not me.
Well, I mean, if you want to call his moonsault a moonsault, but
yeah. But as a wrestler valet manager, just check it and be aware of it. Like one thing Ian and I was talking about, or you and I was talking about, was the tag ropes. You don't really like them. I enjoy them because I think they bring a lot to it. One, if you're a tag team, you're a baby tag team. You hold on to it. You get that so the audience see it. Something like that.
Right.
And if you're the heel tag team, when the baby gets slinging to your corner, the referee gets distracted. You start choking them with it, getting the fans to hate you more because they see what you're doing. Yeah. So I'm a big fan of the tag ropes.
Yeah,
I always liked them.
I can understand that. I guess the reason I don't necessarily, I don't want to say care, but it doesn't really affect me very much, is because I guess watching it and growing up, I didn't really notice them very often because the big names, WCW and WWF at the time, they didn't really use them that much in the late 90s, early 2000s when I was really growing up in it. So I guess that's one of the reasons it doesn't really affect me, but I guess that's just preference. I mean,
that's another topic for another time.
But really, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt anything, or to have them, and it, I guess not having them does takes away from the experience.
Well, you're probably thinking, well, all right, so I go there, check the ring, but how could it hurt my gimmick? If I don't do that. Well, if you don't check the ring, you don't check your stuff, you could get hurt.
Right.
Thus, for hurting your gimmick, because if you get hurt, you're not able to perform. You're not able to do what you want to do.
Yeah, you don't want to hear that infamous chant of "you messed up."
Yeah. And that's the edited version.
Yeah. So you don't want to hear that chant when you go to do something and the ring isn't the way that you're used to, especially if it's not your home place. So, other things are, make sure you check out the stairs going up to the ring so that when you run up them, how. One thing that threw me off at a couple different shows when I was wrestling was the height of the ring, because the mat was at different heights. Some were enormously high, and I was like, what the heck is this? And some were really low, and so sliding in them got very interesting when you have a big variant of heights. So
I remember I was on a ring one time. I was back when I was a manager, and this was the highest ring I'd ever been on, and the match called for a spot where I jumped up onto the ring side and I took a punch to the face.
Right.
All right. And so as I jump up, I remember like I really had to jump up there, and I'm thinking, crap, I'm about to stand up, and I'm like, 5 feet off the ground,
yeah.
about to fly backwards, and there's like no padding. There's a bunch of chairs.
Yeah.
And so I got hit, and I just like, I had to, but whew, I wish I would have like kind of tested it beforehand so I kind of knew what was coming.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I saw somebody the other day with the stairs. It's important to know the placement of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was watching a battle royal at an independent show not too long, about a month or so ago. Somebody went over the top and landed back first on these wooden stairs, and I was calling the match or commentating the match, whatever.
Yeah.
And I saw this, and I'm like, he just broke his back.
Yeah, that's rough.
I mean, I was like, holy cow, because they was in the middle of the ring, which is kind of a weird positioning, but to each their own. But that's what I'm saying. It's a good spot to know where the steps are, because he went flying over and just landed like snap. And I'm like, holy cow! The guy I was commentating with like looked at each other, and we're like, holy cow, that was just insane. Yeah. So that's another way of just knowing your ring and knowing where you're at and having good awareness.
I mean, I know a lot of guys are probably going to sit there and say, well, if you're a good wrestler, you know everything. You know what I mean? You know how to adapt to those things. And I don't want to. I mean, I know that sounded like I was making fun of you, because I kind of am.
Yeah.
Because that's just not a professional way to look at things. The WWE knows exactly how everything's set up, and they set it up exactly the way they do it every show. Yeah. They have the exact same corner steps. The ropes, I'm sure they set them up the exact same way every time, down to the turn, I'm sure.
I can give you a prime example for y'all to think, oh, I'm a veteran, I know everything. I will use Davey Boy Smith as an example. All right, he was wrestling in the British Bulldog, for y'all that don't know. He was wrestling in WCW at the time. They had a trap door underneath the ring for some gimmick that they was going to do later. They didn't let everybody know it was there. All right, it had a lock on it. He got slammed back first onto the lock. Okay, that's when he got hooked to pain pills, thus for creating his addiction to drugs, therefore eventually ending his life. Wow. So communication and not being that cocky bastard that thinks I know everything. Okay, communication and letting people know if there's something messed up. Like, had they communicated, he wouldn't have hurt his back. He wouldn't have probably had that addiction to pain pills that he got from that injury. Yeah. And he could have still been.
You never know, but
that's an extreme case.
Right.
But, I mean.
Right. I mean, same thing with Mick Foley. He attempted to do the head trapped in the ropes trick, and he ripped his ear off because the ropes were tighter than he thought. I mean, obviously that's something that one, he did spur of the moment, in Germany, but that's just something that you test out the ring before you get out there. You try out the ropes, you check under the ring, make sure that you know your environment. That's all we're saying.
Yep. And that's how it can and cannot hurt your gimmick.
Yeah. So
if y'all have any stories or ideas on things we could touch on or talk about in the future, hit us up, let us know. ringicon.com. Send us a message.
Yeah, or leave a comment on the video at youtube.com/ringicon. So,
yep. You have anything else to add?
No, just don't think we're bashing you, but also just remember to keep it professional. That's all it's about. So, all right, we'll see you next week with another promotion and gimmick builder. You can stop.